How do you evaluate project scheduling tools like Microsoft Project or Gantter? I'm Tony Zink, and this is the Project Guide. Hi folks, Tony Zink here, project management author, trainer, and tool jockey, and creator of the Project Manifesto. I show people how to use tools and techniques to get better results faster on their projects, whether that means saving time, saving money, reducing risks, or providing a more stress-free and pleasant experience for everyone involved in your project. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing or following me on your favorite social media channel. And if you're not tuning in directly on my website, tonyzink.com, then you can go there to get the video for this episode and others like it. And you can find out where I hang out on the social media channels so that you can follow me and get updates on things like upcoming webinars or free training that I'm posting on my website and other goodies too. So Microsoft Project is one of the most popular, if not the most popular project scheduling tools out there in the world today. Probably runs only second place to Microsoft Excel, which a lot of people use for any number of things, including creating project schedules. Although I'm going to show you today how you can use some basic points to evaluate tools like Microsoft Project or other project scheduling tools like Gantter and determine what's best for you. Microsoft Project, although it's a fantastic project scheduling tool and it's really powerful and you can do a lot of things with it, it's not for everybody. There is a price tag that comes along with it. It can range, depending on which version you get, it can range anywhere from about $500 or $600 up to over $1,000. And it does have a pretty steep learning curve, so a lot of people can be intimidated by either the price tag or what it's going to take to really truly learn how to use this tool properly. So I'm going to show you an alternative called Gantter, that's spelled G-A-N-T-T-E-R, and how it measures up against Microsoft Project. Now, as I'm going through here today, if you have any questions and you're joining me live, then go ahead and type them into the live chat and I'll get to those questions or comments a little bit later. If you're not tuning in live here today, then once I get this video posted on my website, tonyzink.com, then you can always go there and post your thoughts in the comments section on my website near this video. And I'll check for comments periodically and respond as necessary. So as you're evaluating project scheduling tools that you might want to use on your project, there's a handful of things that I would recommend that you consider. Number one is, does this project scheduling tool have an automatic scheduling engine for task planning? Any respectable project scheduling tool should have an automated scheduling engine, but they don't all necessarily. There's a lot of software tools out there that might call themselves project scheduling or project management tools, but they don't always have this scheduling engine that I'm talking about. Basically, the idea here is that you should be able to put in the tasks that you think need to be performed in your project, as well as some estimates in terms of duration and work effort and so forth, and you should be able to sequence those activities and then maybe even assign resources to them and costs. And then the scheduling engine should be able to calculate when those tasks should be performed out on a timeline. And if you are doing resource management, which is another key aspect here that I'll touch on, you should be able to assign resources, whether they be people or materials or facilities or equipment or what have you. You should be able to assign resources to those tasks. And then the scheduling engine looks at the amount of work that you've assigned, if they're people, for example, and where that work falls on a timeline. It should be able to give you some sort of a view of which resources you're going to need and when, if you've scheduled out the task on a timeline and you've assigned people to them, and give you a view in terms of when you're going to need those resources. And even with the more sophisticated scheduling tools, it should be able to give you a view of those resources' workloads over time. Cost tracking is another important aspect of a project scheduling tool. If you can assign rates in terms of dollars per hour or dollars per unit to your resources, then the scheduling engine in your tool, in your software, should be able to do the math and tell you, for example, if Mike is assigned to a task that's going to take approximately 50 hours of work effort, and Mike, you're having to pay $100 an hour to utilize Mike on your project, then the scheduling tool should be able to do that simple math, 50 hours of work times $100 an hour, and give you a $5,000 price tag that Mike is going to be contributing to your project. Once the project is underway, it's really important to be able to track progress using the software, and it should have good features for you to put in actual start dates, actual finish dates, progress like percent complete or actual work performed, and so forth. Not all project scheduling tools give you the ability to do that. And then to kind of back that up just a moment, when you're done going through the planning process at the beginning of your project, it would be nice if you had the ability to do what we call save a baseline for your project. So this was kind of a snapshot of our original plan for this project. And then once the project is underway and people are working on it, things never go according to plan. And so if you can track that progress of basically reflecting what people are actually doing as you're proceeding through the project, you can then compare what people actually did, but with your baseline project plan or project schedule that you created back in your planning stage of the project. So baselining and progress tracking are also very important aspects of a robust project scheduling tool. And then finally, another thing that I would look for in a project scheduling tool is the ability to do reporting right in the tool, or the ability to easily extract the information or the data out of the tool to send it to your reporting tool of choice, whether it's Excel or you put it into a database and then you have some sort of a more sophisticated reporting tool that connects to that database and helps you to generate reports. You should have ways of getting information out of your project schedule, because I've never met a project manager who's never had to do a project report for their customer or their boss, or even generate timelines to distribute out to their team members so that they know what's expected of them and when. There might be other bonuses that your more sophisticated tools would have in terms of customizable or user-defined fields so that you can capture and track information that's not built into the tool. The ability to do cross-project or represent cross-project dependencies, because oftentimes projects don't operate in a vacuum, and there are outside forces that act upon them. And so if there are other projects that are dependent on your project's progress or vice versa, it's nice to be able to have the ability to create cross-project dependencies right inside the software. So then if things change on any one of those projects, then the other projects are automatically updated to reflect that. Other types of more sophisticated functionality that you might find are resource pooling or resource sharing, because again, project teams are usually not dedicated. We're not running or operating in a vacuum. So people typically are shared across projects. So it would be nice if we could represent that, as well as giving us more of a master or portfolio view of multiple projects. These are things that you find in, again, the more sophisticated project scheduling tools. You may or may not need that in your situation, but they could be things to look for. So let me switch over to my computer screen here and I'll get started. So what I have on my screen here now is a project schedule that I've built with Microsoft Project. Okay? It has a number of activities all laid out and sequenced. They have durations. The scheduling engine has calculated start and finish dates for me. And you can see that I even have people or resources assigned to these tasks. You can see their names right over here on the right-hand panel in the Gantt chart. And if I drag my vertical splitter bar over here to the right-hand side, I can look at the resource names column and also see the names of the resources or the people that I've assigned to each one of these tasks. The interface is nice and modern and clean, and if you're familiar with any of the other Microsoft Office applications like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and so forth, then you see the same sort of tabbed or ribbon interface, as Microsoft calls it, across the top of your screen, where you find all of your commands and all of your toolbars and buttons and so forth. And so in comparison, I'll switch over here to another window here. It's actually a web browser where I have Gantter running. And I have the same project schedule here represented with the same activities, with durations assigned, and it also calculated the start and finish dates for me for these activities. And to take it a step further, I even also have people or resources assigned to these tasks. So in that regard, so far, we're looking pretty similar in terms of functionality between Microsoft Project and Gantter. There's also this vertical splitter bar, and I can drag this to the right or to the left to expose more of the columns on the left-hand side or more of the Gantt chart timeline on the right-hand side. And you can see here that I also have a resources column with the people's names who are assigned to each of the tasks in this project. Now, as far as the interface goes, it's a little different than what we saw in Microsoft Project. In Project, we had the tabbed or ribbon interface across the top. Now, in this case here, we have some more simplified menus across the top here and a few toolbar buttons immediately above the project schedule grid or Gantt chart. And then down the left-hand side of the screen here, we see a few different main areas that we can go into here: tasks, resources, calendars, and risks, something that we don't have in Microsoft Project. A lot of the functionality, a lot of the basic functionality is pretty similar between these two tools, although Gantter has this risks functionality here that you don't find built into Microsoft Project. Now, let me go back here, and actually I'll stay right here since I pointed this out. And so right now we're seeing the tasks in the project schedule in Gantter. And if I click on resources over here on the left-hand panel, then it takes me to another view here where I can see the resources or the people that I'm utilizing on this project. You can see here that I'm working with a concrete contractor, electrical contractor, and so forth. I've got 6 different resources that I'm utilizing on this project. And if I go back to the tasks view again, I can see that I've assigned these resources to the various tasks in this project. And if I flip back over to Microsoft Project here, I have something very similar. If I go up here to the View tab to display the View ribbon, I've got many different views available to me here, like the resource sheet view, very similar to the resources view that we saw over in Gantter, although it's a lot more flexible. There's more columns that I have available to me here, and I can even right-click and insert many more different types of columns of resource information than what I have the ability to do over in Gantter. And if I go back here to the Gantt chart, I'll find that the same is true. I can right-click, select Insert Column, and I have many different types of information that I can show or access in my Gantt chart view. Over in Gantter, it's much more basic. There's several columns or fields that come built in: name, duration, start, finish, predecessors, and resources. And then if I go up here to the View menu, there's a few more that I can show, like the WBS, like the work and the cost and the percent complete. But that's about it. So right out of the gate, even though it does have the same basic functionality, it is more basic than Microsoft Project. Although I'll point out here that Microsoft Project comes with a much more hefty price tag. Gantter, you can use this for free. You'll notice that I'm running this inside my web browser, and you can go to their website, you can create an account, and you can use this basic functionality without having to pay one dime. So it's one of these cases where you get what you pay for. So back in Microsoft Project, I showed you that there's a Gantt chart view, there's a resource sheet view, and there's other views too here, like a task usage. It shows you a breakdown of tasks and each resource or resources that are assigned to each task. There's a resource usage view that shows the same type of assignment information, only it's flipped around a bit, and we have a list of resources and then all of the tasks that are assigned to each one of them. And then over here in the right-hand panel, you see the hours of work that are assigned to each resource on each individual assignment. Okay, that's something that we don't actually have access to in Gantter. In Gantter, we have 2 basic views, a Gantt chart view and the tasks view rather, and then the resources view. You don't have other types of assignment or usage views or other types of graphical views that you have available to you in Microsoft Project, like a network diagram view, like a calendar view, and so forth. So again, it's more basic, but it's also free. So let me just kind of demonstrate the experience here of adding tasks and manipulating tasks and assigning resources to those tasks in both tools. So I have a task that I've been told I need to add to the beginning of my project schedule. Right now, the first real task where the first real work is being performed is task ID number 2 here, select charging equipment supplier and hardware model. Well, I've been told by my project team that we should review charging equipment features and suppliers before we make our selection, and that makes sense to me. So I can either right-click anywhere in my Gantt chart, in the table here rather, on the left-hand side of my Gantt chart, and select Insert Task, or I can just hit the Insert key on my computer keyboard to insert a blank row here, and I'll go ahead and put this task in here. Review charging equipment features and suppliers. And I've been told that that should take 5 days to complete. And that should happen before this next task here, select charging equipment supplier and hardware model. So I'll just select these two tasks. I'll go up here to the task ribbon and I'll click the link selected tasks button. And it's very easy to update my timeline and my forecast for this project. You can see here that all of these start and finish dates for all these subsequent tasks were automatically updated, as I would expect in a modern, sophisticated project scheduling tool. So let me go back over to Gantter. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to copy this task name here so that I don't have to type it in again, and more importantly, you don't have to watch me type it in again. And let me switch over here to Gantter and do the same thing. So I need to insert a row. I can hit the Insert key on my computer keyboard, and I get this blank row here where I can put in a new task. I could have also gone up here to this toolbar and clicked the Insert Above button and gotten the same result. So I'll paste in the name rather than typing it. I'll put in a duration of 5 days and hit Enter on my keyboard. And then I'll select these two tasks to link them, or to tell the software that task number 2 needs to be performed before task number 3 is started. Now, because this is web-based software, you don't get some of the same sort of drag and drop and the same sort of fluid interface that you would get in a tool like Microsoft Project. For example, in Microsoft Project, I could have just drug a selection over top of these two rows and it would have selected both of those rows. In Gantter, it doesn't do that. So I need to click on the first task that I want to link, task number 2, and then I'm going to hold down my Control key on my computer keyboard and then click on task number 3, select charging equipment supplier and hardware model. Then I'll go up here to the toolbar and there's a Link Tasks button. I'll click that. And just like we saw in Microsoft Project, it updated all the dates and it rescheduled all the subsequent tasks. So again, demonstrating that we do have a scheduling engine in this software that recalculates our schedule and generates a new forecast for me. So that's good. Let's go back now and or let's take this a step further rather and assign resources to assign somebody to this new task. So in Gantter, you basically have a couple different options for assigning somebody to a task, assuming that they're already in the resources view. If they're not in there yet, then you need to go down to your first empty row and type their name in there to add them to the project team. If they're already there, then you just go back over here to your tasks view and go over here to, or I should say, one option is to go over to the resources column and click your mouse cursor in that column on that row. It'll open up a Task Properties dialog box, and I'm going to assign the installation engineer to this task. So it lists all the team members that are already on my project team. I can just check the checkbox next to the installation engineer's name, and then you'll notice over here on the right-hand column there's a units place where I can specify whether this person works full-time, in other words, 100% units, or they're spending 100% of their time working on this task, or if they're only working part-time, like maybe they're only spending half of their time working on this task, then I can drop that down to something like 50%. This person is going to work full-time or 100% on this task, so I'll make sure that that's 100% in the units column and click the Save button. I'll point out here also that there are other tabs that describe other types of information about this particular task. There's a general tab that shows you just general information like the name of the task, the duration, percent complete, and so forth. There, it lists out the predecessors, where this is another way that you can specify predecessors for a task rather than selecting them and linking them like I showed a few moments ago. There's an advanced tab that shows you or gives you control over whether this task is a fixed units, fixed duration, or fixed work type of a task. And I'm not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details of how this affects the scheduling of a task, but I will note that this is an indicator that this is a fairly sophisticated scheduling engine in this software. You're not going to see that in the more basic project scheduling tools out there. If you want to assign a special calendar to this task, again, something else that you find in Microsoft Project, and you also see that here. And if you want to assign a scheduling constraint to this task, you have all of those to select from here: as soon as possible, as late as possible, must start on, must finish on, and so forth. Again, a fairly sophisticated project scheduling feature that you don't typically find in the more basic project scheduling tools. You have a place here where you can attach notes to this task. You can even link things to this task, like maybe a document that you have stored online in this case here. This is running inside of kind of Google's ecosystem. So they're asking you if you'd like to link anything from your Google Drive account to this task, files, documents, and so forth. You can even do some formatting for this task. You can assign risks to this task. And there's some additional kind of information here that you might want to attach to this task, like the industry, required skills, or location. So I've assigned installation engineer. Let me click Save, and now that person is assigned to that task. And over here in Microsoft Project, I can do it like that. I can just go over here to the resource names column and pick, click and pick the person's name. Or you can double click on that task to open up a similar type of a task information dialog box where you have general information, predecessor information, resource information. So this is another place where I can specify, who I want to assign to this task and their assignment units and so forth. So, there's multiple ways that you can assign resources. There's actually more ways that you can assign resources to tasks in Microsoft Project, but how many ways do you need to assign somebody to a task? So it's pretty much up to you. The method that I like to use when I'm assigning resources to tasks in Microsoft Project is using this Assign Resources dialog box. So I can select the task, and then in the dialog box, I can select the resource or the person that I want to assign to that task. I have control over their assignment units right here, or I can just click Assign, and it'll assume that that I'd like them to work full-time on this task. So I'll go ahead and close, and now I've got the same sort of result here in Microsoft Project. Take this a step further now, just as another demonstration of the scheduling engine in both tools. If I insert the work column and the cost column in Microsoft Project, I can see here that it's done some calculations for me. It's calculated the numbers of work hours for each of these tasks based on who's assigned and their allocation. It's also calculated a cost for me on each task based on who I have assigned to that task and what is their hourly rate. So in this case here, the installation engineer is assigned to the review, charging equipment, features, and suppliers task, 40 hours of work, and I bet we'll find that if we go over here to the resource sheet view, yes, we have installation engineer, and they are charged out to this project at $80 an hour. So that explains the $3,200 cost on that task. 40 hours times $80 an hour, $3,200. And similarly, if we go over here to Gantter, we'll find that if we go up here to the View menu and add Work, and then again, View menu and add Cost, it's also calculated work effort and cost for each of these tasks on the project based on who we have assigned. So again, very similar functionality. Now, one place where I'm going to say that Gantter falls a little bit short is in the area of extracting information back out of the project schedule. There's not a lot of reporting functionality in here. Basically, what you see is what you get right here in the tasks view or the resources view. So if I wanted to see what somebody is assigned to in this project, like show me everything that the installation engineer is working on in this project, basically I can go up here to the view menu and select the Filter by Resource option. And it'll ask me which resource I'm interested in. I'll pick the Installation Engineer, and I'll hit Save, and it'll filter down my Gantt chart view and only show me tasks that the Installation Engineer is assigned to. Whereas over in Microsoft Project, we have a lot more functionality in terms of reporting on like what somebody is working on, for example. So I could go up here and select View and then Filter and then Using Resource and pick the same type of functionality here where I pick the Installation Engineer and it filters down and only shows me what the Installation Engineer is working on this project. But then I have so much more available to me here. I have these task usage views, these resource usage views, and I'll find the Installation Engineer, and there they are with all the tasks that they're assigned to and the work hours assigned because of, or associated because of all those task assignments. We can also split our screen here and just find a different view to show down here, like the resource graph. So now for the Installation Engineer, I can see a visual of where those work hours fall on the timeline. And I can see here very easily that in October and November, we have a problem. The Installation Engineer is assigned to twice as much work as what they're capable of doing. And then we even have some fantastic dashboard reports that you're not going to find in Gantter. So, for example, if I go here to the resource overview report, talking of resources, we can see here lots of great information about the resources and what they're assigned to in this project, as well as other types of reports like project overview reports and cost overview reports. Lots of different types of reporting information in this that we have access to in Microsoft Project that we don't have easy access to over in Gantter. So this is one of those things where if you're going to pay the price tag for Microsoft Project, these are some of the extras that you get. Fantastic reporting. One final thing here that I'll touch on is the progress tracking. In Microsoft Project, you have very robust progress tracking functionality. If you insert the percent work or percent complete column, you can certainly put a percentage on each task, and you can do the same thing over here in Gantter. If you go to View and add the percent complete column, you can certainly put a percentage of completion on each task in this project. However, actually, let me review that filter by resource filter. However, to properly track progress in a project schedule, it takes more than just tracking a percentage of completion. What you really want to do is track not only percent complete, but also information such as actual start and actual finish. Okay, these are fields that are not easily accessible in Microsoft, or I'm sorry, in Gantter. So even though this task was scheduled to start on July 9th and finish on July 13th, when did it actually start? Okay, this is you really want to track an accurate reflection of what really happened on the project, and then allow the scheduling engine to recalculate and update what the rest of your downstream work looks like. How does that affect the rest of your project? It's much easier to do in Microsoft Project than it is over here in Gantter. You don't have the ability to add columns like actual start or actual finish. You just have to manually update the start and finish dates, and it's more difficult than to distinguish between the planned start and finish and the actual start and finish. Those are some pros and cons of working with Microsoft Project versus Gantter. If you're looking for a tool that's really robust and has a lot of great functionality, then Microsoft Project, as long as you have the budget to purchase it, is fantastic tool. It's my favorite scheduling tool. If you are on a tight budget, or maybe you're getting started working in project management and scheduling, and you can't or don't want to spend the money on Microsoft Project, then Gantter is a good option. It is a good alternative. Now, how do you get Microsoft Project or Gantter if you don't already have them? If you're interested in Gantter, you can just go to their website, Gantter.com, and go to their Gantter Editions page, and it'll show you a few different options here. I was using one of the web-based versions that you can. I believe I was using the Google Apps version that just runs inside of my Google Chrome web browser. You can also get the desktop version, and you download that. I believe that costs about $10, and then you've got a desktop version that you can use on your computer. If you're interested in getting Microsoft Project, then you can just go to Microsoft's website. I believe the shortcut to this page is microsoft.com/project, and then you can click on See Products and Pricing, and it'll show you the different options that you have for versions of Microsoft Project. They have a cloud-based version, Project Online Professional, that you can pay a monthly subscription fee for, or you can click on this on-premises solutions option here, and you have Project Professional and Project Standard here that you can purchase right directly from Microsoft for $1,160 or $590. Okay, and then you just download that and install it on your PC, and you're off and running. A few things here that I'll leave you with. First of all, determine what your project scheduling needs are. Maybe you need all the powerful functionality of a tool that Microsoft Project has. Maybe you need the really powerful reporting and dashboarding kinds of functionality that Microsoft Project has. Or maybe you don't. So take a look at if you have sophisticated scheduling needs, or if you have just really basic needs. You just need to throw together a simple timeline with some people's names assigned to the tasks. You might be able to get away with a tool like Gantter, and then maybe graduate to Microsoft Project later when you have more of a budget or you have more sophisticated needs. Number two, determine what the reports or outputs are that you're going to need. Again, I've never met a project manager who hasn't needed to create a project schedule or reports out of their project schedule in some way, shape, or form. So if you're okay with just manually creating reports, in Microsoft Word or via email or Excel or what have you, then you might be able to get away with something like Gantter. But if you need to create some sophisticated reports and you do it on a regular basis, and you're going to end up spending a lot of time generating reports, then you might want to invest in a tool like Microsoft Project. And then the third thing and final thing that I'll leave you with here today is take the time to learn how to do proper project scheduling. Neither one of these tools are going to do you any good if you're just kind of resorting back to this mentality where you're just typing task names and start dates and finish dates into rows and cells or rows and columns. You might as well just use Microsoft Excel if you're going to do that. But if you really want to use one of these more sophisticated tools and take advantage of the scheduling engine, then get some training or pick up a book, learn how to use the scheduling engine properly. So thanks for tuning in and spending this time with me here today. I hope that you found these tips helpful and it was worth your time. Before I leave you, let me just give you one quick reminder. If you're not tuning in directly on my website, tonyzink.com, then you can go there to find the video recording for this episode and others like it. You can find where I hang out on social media, so if you'd like to follow me and get updates on other upcoming webinars or training videos that I'm posting on my website or other good stuff, then you can follow me there. And until I see you next time, go back out there and keep building great things.